All right, good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with what I believe is the 46th episode of Cultist Simulator: The Bright Young Thing Legacy, playing as David Ellison. Now, I did have a bit of bad luck. It wasn't actually with Cultist Simulator, it was with Streamlabs Desktop. I prefer OBS, but I do keep my recording setups different, just so I can have a little bit of separation in terms of the files and I don't lose things. But I was partway through the recording, in fact most of the way through recording the 46th episode, the one that you're watching right now, and the way the encoding works for me is I've got the setting where if the program is interrupted, you lose the video effectively. So I believe the backups folder has saved me in this sense. I sort of worked out roughly where the time should be, and I'm looking at the last video. It does look like I have. What I need for the. Sorry, actually, I do want to take a second here and just see if I can. I have this on YouTube, so where on earth did it go? I really should have, I should have worked this out before I started the recording. Okay, so the episode that's online is 45. We should be on 46, and when I take a look at the video, this is, at least on the surface, the same as the thing that I was looking for at before. I also suspect this means this is the Wednesday one, so I'm sorry to be a bit of a shambles at the time that I'm sorry, what am I trying to say? When I'm coming back after a bit of a break, a distance from you. But I think we can make some progress here. So I'm going to need to send someone to deal with the damning evidence. I'm going to need to study some books. What else? We've got a treaty's underway. We definitely need some money. We are getting past the weary or the fretful dead. We've got Slee working on the worms in the world when the time comes. Okay, so let's start by working through our book. So we've got the Vinzant inscriptions. Everett Vinzant transcribed these Frisian inscriptions from a cliff in Anatolia, where he famously survived a lightning strike. He died 7 years later to the day. His bones, the legend has it, were hot to the touch. And actually, if you can just give me one quick second here, it may not be a bad idea for me to... So I'm feeling a little crummy about the... I mean, it's not that much time that I lost. I actually just saved my backups folder. I think I'm going to start doing that at the start of the episodes, just in case. Okay, but we are going to work on the Vinzant inscriptions. So here we go. Lock the study door, the work begins. And where else were we? Okay, so yeah, I want to try and get rid of the evidence at some point. I also... Okay, actually, sorry, there's a few things that I want to do. We need to deal with the damning evidence. Another thing that is happening right now is I'd like to start gifting a few items to followers. So, it's fair to say things like... it's kind of fair to say that things like... well, actually, do I have examples of this? Yeah, so we've got things like the Cinnabar Amulet, and then we've got the Malleus Imperative. Now, I don't necessarily need to have multiple instruments available to me. It might make sense to have, you know, an instrument and and an ingredient, let's say. Or I guess it's a tool, not an instrument. Yeah. But yeah, so in this case here, I may want to start handing off a few items to people, but I should figure that out. One that would actually be kind of interesting would be if I can give one of my lantern followers the cracked Wildering Mirror. I think that actually gives us a win, because if we need 36 power, I could be wrong on the 36 power, but we have the Icor Vitreous, we've got the Mantra of Ascent, and we've got level 10 Seers, so I think if we were to give them the Wildering Mirror, that actually gives us what we need to pass. On the other hand, we can use the Wildering Mirror to ascend. But yeah, I don't know. We'll think about it. Okay, I've finished the manuscripts. We are still dealing with staleness, so let's do a Formula Vigilant as our inspiration. Okay, Season of Sickness. Malign influences taint the night air. And our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I could send another follower. Colors of the Night, we're not going to spend on the paints. Pain's Gate. The wound is healed as much as it ever will be. A gate of pain and possibility remains. So I probably want to get on the evidence pretty quickly, but let's sneak in a repair job. So let's get Tristan on the Wildering Mirror. We know we're at least going to have 30 seconds to figure out what the next event is. Prepare the text for study. All right. Long ago, the Sisterhood of the Knot recounted, the Forge loved the hour called the Sun and Splendor. The Red Grail long anticipated their union, and the Grail priestesses prophesied it. We call upon the sun and rags which burn still. The sun and rags lends lantern light. It will almost certainly end this curse here. And if this ever reaches trial, I will be in serious danger. Even if this hunter is disposed of, another may find their notes. Okay. So yeah, probably due for a chat with Yzabet before too long. My recent work has drawn some attention. Something should sell. 2 funds is okay, but it's not quite shaking the earth. And what do we do? I could work a commission. But then that's going to use the talk verb to... Well, yeah, we might as well do something, right? Ah! God, no! Okay, their wounds are mortal. There's nothing to be done. This game says there's nothing to be done. Oh! But we can probably raise her from the dead? We'll see. The curse shrivels. Our power is stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. I feel a little bad about that. This is my fault for keeping all of my followers off to the side. My follower is at work on the mirror. So if I want to try and bring Kat back, it might be an idea for me to leave the work verb open, but that creates some problems for money. The remainder of the text consists of gloating remarks by the Grail priestesses on the shaping that will come, interpolated with warnings and laments from those of the Sisterhood who serve the Ring-Yu and especially the Horned Axe. Nevertheless, an invocation to the Forge is included as part of an attempt to urge it onwards. Shaping chant. Okay. The proper words must be employed when the change comes. Use this in a rite with a knock influence and a bone flute, or other resources of equal power to summon a Callagine. So let's go on to the Catalogue of Uncharted Pleasures. The Dark Gentleman is the only and rather grandiosely identified author of this often copied work. I wonder why it's often copied. Lock the study door, the work begins. So I'm mildly inclined towards... I'm kind of thinking we're in a bird in the hand situation. I'm really hoping I get this tool thing right. I have half a mind of giving Clifton the mirror. But yeah, so 4.4 seconds. Maybe we wait a bit and see what we can do with the body. Actually, hang on. A painting doesn't take that long. Probably should have done that earlier, to be honest, but we'll do the formula vigilant, esoteric art. Those who know will understand, as will the suppression bureau. And the mirrors are paired. It shines again as it did once before. So, if I recall correctly, if you give up the door in the eye, if you try to give up any of the paintings, I don't think people accept them. And I'm trying to remember, I seem to believe... Okay, so the dilemma that I have is, like, on one hand I can give Clifton the Noonstone, and on the other I can give them the Wildering Mirror. And the challenge that I have is that... So obviously giving away the Wildering Mirror keeps me from going to the Peacock store, but the Peacock store also takes up my talk verb a lot. So... and I know I can get another mirror elsewhere. And I think the fact that I kind of get the option of completing the game whenever I want outweighs the idea of going to the Peacock door. And I suppose the one argument is that if I go to the Peacock door, there's a possibility I get Lantern influence. But again, I only need the 12. The problem is I don't know if I get the 12 from the Wildering Mirror. I think it's worth a risk, because I know I'll be getting another mirror relatively soon. So let's give this a shot. Significant conversations in a smoky meeting room. What do I need from my follower? Give a tool to a follower. This power will pass from my hands to theirs. This will increase a follower's relevant aspect, but you can never reclaim the tool, nor give them a second tool. A gift will reduce resentment. So it might have been nice to maybe experiment with one of the other followers, but again, I don't really know what to make of this. Cat, I'm sorry. The spirit has departed. At some point, the smell will be so bad that you'll have to dispose of it. But here it is now. For now. It may attract attention. It may even be used to impress the impressionable. So yeah, I think we can use one of the... So, corpses are ingredients. These accept ingredients as a... Can I do a painting of the corpse? No. Something to remember them by, perhaps. I believe you can raise... So there's the Voiceless Dead, which is a summoning. But I believe you can actually raise a corpse. I believe you can raise a corpse with one of these. I feel like the Rite of Mother's Mercy is the one you should do to bring back my... Oh, Jesus, that's a short run. Okay, we won't pay for paints. In fact, if I recall correctly, I usually do Shattered Risen, but there is a mothy one. So I think you need Winter and Moth for that particular one. It's funny, actually. So this is fun because Yzabet has Knock, Winter, and Edge. Sylvia has Moth and Edge, and Porter has Moth. So I think what I might do is I'll do Porter as a... as a follower. Well, let's wait to see. I need to remember exactly how to do these setups. Okay, let's read the Catalog of Uncharted Pleasures. Some pleasures, the formula voluptuous attest, are so intense that they can corrupt the laws of the physical world. This text catalogs some of those instances. And the interior of the temple throbs with luminescent fungi. We must peel them from the altar with our gloved hands before we can loot the place. It is as cold as rain-chilled flesh. Our gloves now are stained with light. Our breath mists in the temple's cold. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. Apparently they've changed the name for this, and I forgot. So this is now an enigmatic sculpture, an elaborate ivory sculpture of impossible intricacy around... Excuse me. Around and across its surfaces, Sanskrit inscriptions spiral against matching lines of vac. So we can move that over. So yeah, I used to think... I know I've referred to this by another name. Turns out I'm too set in the old ways. Did I read this before? The treasures that unknown priests left here, and a pitiful huddle of bones. A sacrifice? Or did a later visitor end their visit here? The glowing fungus has etched their skeleton with its acids. We have the dream of the conspiracy of lower skies. A hallowed polos, a ring crown of a savage mother stained with essence, woven with scraps of hair, and blessed with flecks of skin. Again, I'm sorry. A furious sliver when the lionsmith turned against the colonel, he crushed his own sword in his fist. Each tiniest fragment of that weapon still thrills with rage. That's a level 12 edge. So again, these are the sorts of things where like I would want to start gifting these, and that's essentially what I'm starting with Clifton. The reason why I'm going so heavy with Clifton is that I do believe this is a potential game winner for me. I mean, two lantern is not... That feels like a pretty small augment to give. Maybe I could have tried the Noonstone, I don't know, but... I seem to believe... I don't know, I definitely get the feeling that... I don't give that many gifts, and I get the feeling that you do get more power the higher you give, but the scale of things is quite a bit smaller. So we'll use Clifton as a test case. If I'm wrong, we can always try another time. However, it does look like I'm not in a position to go on to another expedition, so I may wind up losing the Percussigant. That's what I'm willing to lose if it means keeping Cat Caro around for a little bit longer. So let's start with a trip to Oriflammes with the Iron Spin Trap. This curiosity will earn you some funds. Sell with caution, there's no way to get it back. The painting may help me out with the expedition as well, but... Magnificent work. I've created something distinctive and beautiful. It will likely, very likely enhance my reputation. I'm feeling a little nervous about keeping Cat around. My recent work is considered notable. I've exhibited the latest paintings publicly. Surely someone will buy something. Okay. Starting to lose my attachment to reality. Shaken with grief over losing Cat to a perfectly avoidable illness. It's funny, I didn't neglect her in the relationship, but I apparently neglected her in terms of the of health. Well, what's coming up next? We have a free turn. Maybe we'll leave this open. Yeah, I can go through this stag door. Spider's door. I guess I have the hapless prisoner, but I probably want to keep something in reserve. In my dreams, I know the path to the stag door, through the maze of the bounds. Gearby will let me pass, but the path is always a puzzle. I will need reason. The stag door is the Adept's Gate. To pass it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head Gearby weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. Okay, so Rite of Mother's Mercy. The assistant is offered in sacrifice to the mother of ants, but the mother knows healing as well as poison, and she will be merciful, accepting a substitute of a lesser offering. Usually the experience is not reassuring for the assistant. So we can use the ingredient, and we have an assistant and an invocation. So it would seem to me if we add the corpse, and again, assuming that it is winter and moth, oh, well, I've got my winter people here anyway. Okay, that's a minor and is beautiful. What if I add the Centipede Testament? Call upon the Ring-Yu to raise the corpse to half-life. All right, that's looking good. First, I must plant the seeds under the eyelids, under the tongue, in all the secret openings of the body, and it will awaken as a burgeoning risen. Let's give this a shot. Wherever it's kept, it will be visible in the splintered reflections of the pupils. All right, Clifton is now level 12. Now, of course, we can't confirm that we're ready to ascend because the work slot's currently occupied. I'm going to keep the Percussigant around. Well, no, let's turn in the commissions first. have what was requested. We should be able to do another expedition pretty quickly, and... Oh... Oh, that's so sad. Energetic bidding. Some of the audience are now on their feet. Passions are rising. I am actually feeling kind of foolish about the mirror. I received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. Okay. So, let's get some commissions while we're waiting. Oh, Jesus, I need to deal with the damning evidence. That was really reckless of me. I will get the commissions again just because I am, Poppy says with a girlish giggle, curious about, oh, you know, the arts of blood and ice. It's silly, but allow an old woman her whims. Will you help me? We'll at least get the commissions, because that doesn't take all that long. Doctor would like help with his research. Birth occurs at the conjunction of pleasure and torment, so the first forbidden acts of the forge birthed spirits of delight which took root in the glory in nowhere. Who can say? So the seeds of the flower maker were planted, though for long years he was nothing but an unfilled ache. And we have another formula voluptuous. There exist some pleasures intense enough to corrupt the laws of the physical world. And the auction is complete. We got 4 funds for that, so we can definitely afford to go on an expedition if I choose. And I do. So, percussagant. I think Forge might actually be a reasonable call on this one, because if I recall correctly, we don't just need to go past the Rending Mountains, but we also need to get past a door. The Rending Mountains stand between us and the observatory. The door will be sealed and barred against us. The visions we find may tear at our senses. Right, so there's a curse as well. But we are beginning our expedition to the Eye of Ikirmawi, and I think I forgot to read the description. So, we have read of a sultan who, 800 years ago, could only sleep beneath the stars. He ordered the construction of this observatory so that the stars could be accurately depicted on the ceiling of his bedchamber. Regrettably, the stars they saw were not safe for the unprotected human mind. The sultan's successor ordered the observatory sealed. We'll move on to The Burning Woman, a transcription of a play by Menander the Victor, possibly the dramatist of that name into Frisian with commentaries. So here we go. Lock the study door, the work begins. Trying to think if there's any sense in upgrading Lantern, but we don't quite have what we need to go further on the Mantra of Ascent. Okay, so what do I do? Let's have a quick chat with Yzabet about that damning evidence. The scheme will most likely succeed. There's always a chance that something will go awry. Okay, let's try the Ascent of Knives. It's not going to be good for Dread. I visited the Ascent of Knives last night, that harshest of roads through the house. It has been sacred to the Menascate and the Sun and Rag since the Intercalate. Or sorry, actually I believe it's Intercalate. When the true sun was divided. When I woke, my room was freezing. The chill of it had cracked the window glass. So I believe there was actually a pronunciation online. Okay. Call upon the Ring-Yu to rise a corpse to half-life. The corpse sways to its feet. Its eyes struggle open. Sap trickles from its mouth. It burgeons. It has risen. The growths of the wood have encompassed the corpse's organs, swelled its skull like a gourd, twinned around its heart. Its eyes are moist with cunning, and it moves with jerky puppet grace. Its bones are rotten wood, and soon it will take root, but until then, it will be a swift and subtle servant. So I'm a little curious here. We've got 7.9, so I'm a little nervous about leaving some things around, but I'm actually kind of curious what happens in the Season of Ardors when you have a beloved that's a corpse. And you better believe I'm going to find out. So we're just going to hold off this is interesting. Oh, right, no, because it's, I can't send it to work. So yeah, I'm just gonna hold off for a second here. Well, okay. There's one thing I want to do. Let's just test my hypothesis about a win. So I would, let's say, Rite of the Watchman Star. No, it would have to be something like Mother's Mercy. So we'd use the Icor Vitreous, we'd use Clifton, and we'd use the Mantra of Ascent. Okay, cool. So I have the option, but obviously we want to see what happens here. It does work! Tristan Interludes. If I have a particular friend, now is the time to renew our connection. Never let me go. One that has loved me, not as they... Or sorry, one that loved me is not as they were. If they give them a little of my blood, just a little, but sometimes they are greedy. If I give them a little, they will remember for a time. Oh, man. The colors of my once lover's skin, what remains, grow deeper and richer. That old light kindles again in their eyes. Oh, this is neat. I think I do want to start the Incursus, but I do want to see where this goes. All right. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I could add funds now, or I could send another follower. So we need another Forge follower for the challenges, so we'll add Valsine. I kind of dropped the ball on Dream, but I guess until we can get back to the Peacock's Door, it doesn't really matter what we do. Got a Season of Despair, which isn't going to affect me except for the bitter atmosphere. Their hands, their lips are ripe with life, but it is the chilly life of apple skin and lily petal. Still, it is their hands and their lips. Oh man, that is really interesting. Oh, but I got dread for it. Okay. Well, I have a way of working with that, so... now... This is interesting, because it doesn't seem like they have... Well, I guess they've extended in the sense that I got another 30 seconds of this. Now, what does interest me, this doesn't count as a follower. So I wonder if I can use talk. The Mountaineer's Road. Our forge skills represent plenty of expertise. We'll almost certainly make it through. Okay, let's add a funds for now. I'm going to need to dream with the injury, but let's get rid of the fascination first. The doors of vision swing wide. A little darkness will mellow my light. Even dread has its uses. If you can just give me a quick second here. And we prepared the text for study. Okay. Let's read The Burning Woman. The play describes a pilgrimage of smiths and adepts following the trail of the Burning Woman, who has appeared in all of their dreams and given each a wound and a word. I await word. I'm curious if trying to heal the wound will give us something here. My minion returns, stumbling, mumbling, clumsily bandaged. They were caught in the coils of their own plan. Heal a fallen follower with talk. Interesting. Okay, so if I'm gonna make a move with the burgeoning Risen, now is the time. Let's try locking this in. The Incursus. Little of this flesh remains. I will pass through the Tricuspid Gate, and I will not return. The Watchman awaits me. In his footsteps I will find the glory's light. The understanding is too much for my soul to hold, and so my soul will open. I will not be immortal. I will be more than that. Any follower used in this ritual will be consumed. If you care about who you might leave behind, be careful. Okay, let's maybe a little cheesy with the burgeoning risen. Oh. Okay, well, with that in mind, we don't have a season of sickness coming up, so let's deal with Sylvia and the evidence first. We're leaving behind some money for the... cure. And we will get past the icy atmosphere. Furious echoes, rock slides, and avalanches drive us back. We'll try another route if we survive. I'm okay. Expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I could add funds now, or I could send another follower. The Smiths and Adepts give up on finding the burning woman and resolve to build their own kingdom, where our strength will be sufficient to shatter the world. We walk behind the Watchmen. We will not grow old. I have passed through the Tricuspid gate and entered the high rooms of the Mansus. I will not live, but neither will I die. My dead beloved follows me like a shadow, and in the sanctified core of this light, shadows burn all the deeper. The glory is very close here. It leaks through the fabric of the house to contribute its light. One day, perhaps one day soon, the pilgrimage will conclude, and the Watchman will permit 7 souls to ascend further. The hour called Vagabond will be the first. Perhaps my companion and I will join her. Congratulations on a variant enlightenment victory. You have wrestled the game to its knees. There are other paths. And so concludes the story of David Ellison. Now, I'm sure a few of you might have noticed that this was the direction I was going, but certainly my plans were pushed ahead a little bit by my carelessness. So this is actually the first time that I've managed to get one of the variant victories. And if I recall correctly, the hint is in the beloved being picked up. I know that's something that will allow you to decide whether or not you want to stay on the mortal plane or not. But in any case, I did want to try something like this. And I don't actually raise that many corpses because I don't generate that many corpses. So I think normally I wind up with Shattered Risen and such. But in any case, yeah, so as soon as Caro died, I was like, oh, I was thinking of going down this path, but this is a little bit sooner than I had intended. So my best bet was to try and make Pope Clifton go through. But on the other hand, there are actually a couple of fun ways where you can sort of tie this in with the story of David Ellison. Now, for those of you who are interested, this is not an intentional connection. So sometimes with the funny names that I have for the characters, I think I'm just going to hit main menu here so that we can enjoy some music at least. One of the things that I wanted on this one, and it's not... this wasn't actually intended at the time, but I do kind of find it funny in terms of where the conversation went. This wasn't really meant to be something significant, but David Ellison is actually a real person. Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle, has a few children who have become quite significant figures in entertainment. So I can't recall. I know there's Annapurna Films and Annapurna Interactive, and that's one of the Ellison children. And then there's, I think, Skydance is another one. And these are obviously very well known and quite quite good companies. So I know Annapurna did Zero Dark 30 is one that comes to mind immediately. Certainly they're drawing a lot of attention in terms of some of the independent games that they're doing. And I just sort of thought it would be sort of interesting to, like sometimes I just sort of struggle to come up with names or that. But in this one, I was like, okay, actually, this is kind of fun because you've got, this is actually somebody who's sort of got a pretty big inheritance coming to them, presumably. Although also somebody who's accomplished a few things. But yeah, it's not intended to be, sometimes I've got characters that are named after real historical figures or that, and I do decide to maybe try and nudge the playthrough along those ways. In this case, this just happened to be a name where I was like, yeah, you know what, I'll call them a bright young thing. I'm not sure if Mr. Ellison would like that, but it's my playthrough, I get to pick. But what I did want to do was to try and play the bright young thing. And I know I got some questions about why aren't you doing physical labor in that? And I did actually want someone who tried to take the misfortune and didn't necessarily turn it directly into an aspirant run, but did actually support themselves through creative work and through scholarship. And obviously that was very hard to do at certain points in the playthrough. We definitely found some situations where we ran out of money. And one things I did want to do was I was thinking if I was going to go towards an ascension victory, which is more or less where I wanted to go, I thought it might be interesting to try this beloved hypothesis. It may be widespread that this is how you do it, but the other hint is that when you take a look at the achievements, I believe there is a corpse attached to it as well. So that was sort of putting two and two together. I'm sure I should probably be saying like, oh, there's this piece of the lore that indicates it and that piece of the lore that indicates it. But in this case here, I'm actually doing this purely from a mechanical sense. And I know, I think with Lottie, she gave this wonderful comment. I thought it was wonderful anyway, about how different it was to see me play the game. I think this was during one of the Steam streams. I think this was during Exile actually, because it was something brand new, and to see such an analytical approach to a game that is obviously about story. And I think it's interesting too because I love the story for Cultist Simulator, and I try and talk about the things that I think are interesting about it, and I sort of relate to quite a bit. But it's very hard for me to turn off that analytical side, whether it's gameplay mechanics or ideas. So in any case, there were a couple of things that I wanted to try and accomplish on this run. But I did actually kind of like how it turned out, because what you can sort of imagine in terms of the recasting of how it went through, again, it's nice that Cultist Simulator gives you some things that maybe you weren't expecting. Ellison sort of punched above his weight as far as what might have been expected from him as the bright young thing. Went out on his own path, achieved an enlightenment victory, even though the easier path would have been to sort of follow in his father's footsteps, or to follow other pursuits. Didn't didn't necessarily bow to the demands of the material world in terms of looking for a normal job, but was still able to support themselves through the creative work and through the scholarship, and did start the relationship with Cat Caro. I sort of knew that Cat Caro was the one that, if this was the way to get the victory, I was pretty sure that's how you could do it. But if I was going to try and pursue it, I knew that I wanted Cat to be the first. But in the end, what I thought was kind of interesting was that, again, Ellison, who is a significant figure, but perhaps still underestimated by his peers, had this plan in mind. And so, once things are set in motion as far as the death is concerned, now you start having the preparation. So you give Clifton the artifact, you give, you have a few people that you start making the preparations. And even though there are a number of things I would have liked to have done, I actually wanted to try and do something with Wakefield. I had a few other plans for that particular playthrough. The fact that there was the opportunity to give it the ending that I wanted, a little bit like the character David Ellison, you lay the groundwork, you have a little bit more knowledge than what might be immediately apparent to your followers, and when the opportunity comes, you take the you take the action which is going to achieve your great work. And I kind of like that idea too, just because there was the damning evidence on the table. There were a few things that I was going to need to deal with, and so ultimately, as you can also sort of see, as the Suppression Bureau is start getting ready to really make its big case, and after the loss of Cat Caro, Ellison sort of looks to his books, looks to the dwindling finances, decides it's time, and sort of quietly begins the incursus. So. That was unusual in a few ways, but I'm actually really happy it went through. I had no idea what it would be like if you have a beloved and the Season of Ardors comes by. So I even sort of delayed things a little bit because I wanted to see how it turned out. I might have actually created a lot of problems for myself if it didn't turn out. I'm not 100% sure what that does, to be completely honest with you, but it was definitely a fun little incident to run into. But I enjoyed this, and I hope you all enjoyed this too. Now, traditionally, what's happened as I go between Cultist Simulator runs, I give myself a couple of weeks for just kind of R&R. I like to have a bit of a break. I like to try and recharge things. And to be honest, there's a few different things going on. So I don't believe it's possible to book the Locksmith's Dream. I don't believe there are dates set in stone for that yet. However, it's clear that the Locksmith's Dream will be going on. And so there are some dates. I know you can sort of do a booking in advance, and I think you get £100 off. But in any case, it's something that I think will... that might be a possibility in terms of some future videos to see if there's any material that's come out. I noticed there were a few people on the Reddit who were talking about the event, or at the very least they were sharing a few photos of the event. There's of course the Book of Hours, which will be coming out sometime this year. And there's a lot of stuff for me to still get through on Cultist Simulator. So I think I've got two big influences on me right now. Number one, it is obviously better for the channel and better for me, as particularly in January, where I know a lot of activity sort of drops down. It is better for me to have more content coming out sooner. But I also think it's important for me to make sure that I sort of keep fresh and sort of ready to go. And I do realize that between episodes, I seem to remember having a bit of a delay in terms of the return for this one as well. So I'm going to do my best, but I do know there's a few things going on, and I'm going to need to I don't know. I'm just going to need to take some time to sort myself out to see where it's all going. As always, I certainly am interested in knowing what you're interested in seeing. I did have a couple of ideas for some challenge runs that I wanted to try and do with Cultist Simulator. But again, there's not that much time before we're going to see some new Cultist Simulator things coming up, and I do want to try and make sure that the channel is ready for whatever changes are coming down the road. But let's say no more than 2 weeks. I'll try and maybe even make it a week. I'm not 100% sure, but I am going to try and get myself sorted out. I want to try and get some of the other videos that I have planned ready to go. This is one of the reasons why I'm saying 2 weeks, for the simple reason that I happen to know there are some videos that people have requested from me. I have a deadline for them, and the sooner I can get those finished, the clearer I'm going to be for Cultist Simulator content. So I think in this case here, if you have anything that you'd like to see, if there's any kind of legacies that you might be interested in, feel free to leave those in the comments, or just let me know what you thought of the playthrough and all of that. But I am going to take a bit of time for myself. But let's say, just penciling in, assuming that I don't do any other announcements moving forward, we will say, let's say 2 weeks. And if I need a bit more time, I'll try and maybe put up a video or something along those lines. If this does happen to be the end of our journey together, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you're able to find what you're looking for, either Cultist or otherwise. And for the rest of you, I am very much looking forward to the next story. And usually, it's always been a bit of an adventure to hit the continue button and see where we're going. So I may do an Apostle run. I may do something else. It depends on what we see on the continue bit. But I do value the feedback. I never consider it to be a direct instruction from people. But if there are some things that you'd like to see, or if there's anything that you feel hasn't really been handled in the playthroughs, now's not a bad time to mention those, just because I'm in a better position to run through them. Until our next video, though, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. One last thing, actually, sorry, I should say, for those of you who may be new to the series, what I normally do with these screens is at the very end, I put the playlist for the I think it's the very first one. Anyways, I usually put a playlist for one of the other series at the bottom there. So if you have been following from the very beginning, I'm sorry. I really do want to generate some more content. But for those of you who maybe discovered this channel through it, the playlist that I'll link to will sort of put you back in the loop for maybe some of the other earlier ones that you might have missed. But anyways, I need to wrap up. Again, thank you very much for watching. I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope you had a lot of fun watching it. And I look forward to sharing this wonderful game with you in the future. Until then.